Hey everybody, it's Jamie here with Outlier Marketing Group. I'm so excited to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the 3 key takeaways from our recent website relaunch. And it's one of those things. So today is a Friday here. So if you're watching this on the replay, it's probably not a Friday, but one of the things that we like to do here at Outlier Marketing Group is we like to have specific days where we do specific things. So Fridays for the team, I try to get everybody out by noon. And the reason why I do that is because everybody, including myself, works so flippin' hard to during the week. Everyone always is willing to go above and beyond and do all this extra stuff. So I try and use Friday as like kind of an internal day to wrap up like whatever's left for the week, because there's always a couple of little things that are outstanding, and then just do some like OMG work, right? And so one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about is our recent website relaunch. So we have 2 sides to our business, and those 2 sides are the done for you, where we work with clients to, just like it sounds, do it for them. So we do social media, website design, Facebook ads, marketing strategy, overall. And then we also have our taught to you side. So our taught to you side is really where we teach people about, how to do the digital marketing stuff, right? That we do for people. And so, like I said, one of the things that we have been working to redo was our website, because our website was not representative of the company that we are today. And I bring this up because this is something that often comes up with a lot of the clients that we work with when it comes to doing content. And I wanted to share my 3 key takeaways from doing this website relaunch. And it took me, I did not make this a priority. It roughly took me 6 months to write the content and to really map out the vision. And part of the reason why it took me so long to do that was twofold, because of the fact that we have the done for you side and then we have the taught to you side. I had a lot of internal debate about whether or not it made sense to divide them into 2 separate brands, or do I keep them together since the avatar of the 2 brands is similar, right? They're just in different positions in their business. And so I went back and forth around creating that content. So it took a little bit longer than I had even expected to kind of pull it all together. But that brings me to my first takeaway. So one of the first takeaways is know who you are speaking to. And for us, this is something that I personally spent a lot of time on and thinking about and trying to figure out, is like, who is our ideal client? And this is something that on the done for you side, it's a little bit different than the person who we would teach it to, but ultimately they're the same person, right? They're the same avatar. They're just in different places in their business, right? And that's one of the things that I think is so important that people get like really hung up upon when they're going to launch their website. It's, do you know who you're speaking to? Because a website's not for me. It's for my ideal client, right? It's, to me, it doesn't really matter. If my website doesn't convert, then that's a sign that I didn't do a good job at speaking to my ideal client or educating them. And websites now are very different. You have, in 2018, you have to have a website. It's pretty much essential. It's kind of like the modern day business card, right? Like, I can't remember the last time I had business cards done or handed out a business card, but I can remember the last time somebody went to my website and gave me feedback on it. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you're thinking about creating your website, it's like, who is it that you are speaking to, right? Like, who is that person and what do they want to hear? Like, what's that pain point that you solve? And how can you literally just speak to them, right? And so that's my first key takeaway. Who is it that you're speaking to? So if you don't know who you're speaking to, you might not want to actually do a website yet. You might want to take a step back and say, maybe I'll just put up my opt-in page and figure out, hey, I got my opt-in page up, and then I am now that I have that opt-in page up, I will then go and do a little bit more digging, right? And some of this is just time. Like, we've been in business for 14 years, so it's not fair for me to compare myself to somebody who's been in business for 6 months who might not necessarily know who their avatar is. But for us, I know my ideal avatar is the same person. They're driven, they're motivated, they make decisions relatively quickly. It's not generally, we don't have like a male or a female. I thought it was a lot more female for a while. It turns out it's not. It's pretty 60-40 split. But my people are driven. They want to know enough to be dangerous, but they don't necessarily want to know everything about doing it, right? When it comes to our done for you side. They're at a point in their business where they want to delegate, that they know that they need to delegate, and they know that they need certain pieces in place to make their business ecosystem come to life. And on our taught to you side, it's somebody who's high 5 figures, maybe 6, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe like $250,000. They're starting to grow a team, or they're thinking about growing a team, but they need to have some systems in place to do that, and they probably haven't had any systems in place. They also typically don't have a repeatable model for selling their products and services, so they customize everything for every new client that comes in. And those are the things that I am keenly aware about when it comes to who my ideal client is, so I can speak to that pain point. It doesn't matter which side of the business we're talking about, whether we're teaching or we're doing it for you. My clients want that freedom. They've gone into business for themselves because they are wildly passionate and want to make an impact in the world. And they believe that they can change the world with their product or service and make an impact and help the lives of others. They also have a strong desire to actually like have freedom and break free from that 9 to 5. So whether it's to be more present as a parent, or they're just, they're generally very entrepreneurial. But I know who I'm speaking to. And so the first key takeaway is know who you're speaking to. That's super important. The second thing is it's hard to pull it all together, right? And this is something that I know if you've done a website for me or with me as a client, this is something it's a big push to pull everything together. And now that I've recently redone my website, I had forgotten how much work that is, even though we work with clients doing that all the time. Being on the flip side to be like, oh man, okay, what's the call to action on this page? What's the image? There's lots and lots of decisions that need to be made when you're pulling a website all together. And so I always like to use a tool like Lucidchart, where you can literally map out what all the pages are. And if you go to our new website, you'll see that we have lots of pages, and it was very carefully thought out. And it took a lot to pull it together, because you have to create content, you have to reach out to clients and get testimonials, you have to have imagery, you have to have all of these sort of things. And so there was a couple of things that we did that I actually put the brakes on our site to say, hey, you know what? I want to do a new logo. I'm going to do that now before we relaunch. I wanted to get my images done in time for the new website, but unfortunately that didn't work because of the snow that was here. So I didn't let the images hold up our new website launch. What I'll do is I will integrate them in over time as we start to edit the pages. But key takeaway number 2 is understand how all of those pages are going to connect in terms of an ecosystem. And remember that a website, yes, you can use it for e-commerce. Yes, you can use it for all sorts of stuff. But in 80% of cases, right, it's a business card. And so generally you are going to be sending traffic to that website from social media or from your opt-in or from your email. And so the person generally knows who you are before they land on that page, or at least has had some sort of interaction with you. It's not like, at least for most of the clients that I work with, it's not like, Google search isn't like, driving tons of traffic to their website. It may drive a little, but generally speaking, when somebody lands on that site, they're going to a specific page on that site. And then that's where like the conversion happens to book an appointment or buy the course or whatever. And so when you're thinking about how you pull your whole website together, it's important to think about like, what is that ecosystem? What is that client experience that you want somebody to have, right? And a shout out to Lynn, who in my mastermind group was saying the other day that she's like, every time I experience your brand, I feel freedom, right? And it's like, for you, that freedom is like to have more time to go to the beach or whatever that is. So you want your clients to have a feeling. And that feeling, when she said that, she gave me goosebumps, because that has always been, I want them to experience freedom when they feel my stuff, like feel my brand and they experience my brand. That's the emotion that I want them to feel, right? Because when you get systems in place to have leads coming in on a regular basis, and you don't have to create a million proposals, then guess what? That's how you're going to be able to have more freedom in your life. So when you're thinking about a website redesign, think about it from a high level. How do you want people to experience this? How are you going to pull it all together? You know, do you want somebody to fill out a console, or do you want somebody to be able to make a deposit online? Like, what are all the pieces in place? And one of the things that you guys don't see on the back end of our website is that we are making, it's not done yet. We've been doing it as each new, we have systems in place internally for when a client comes on board in social media, web design, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't have necessarily what I would call like a client portal, right? Because we get a lot of the same questions over and over. So when a client comes on board and they're like, hey, James, how do I add you as an admin to the Facebook page? Like, we're constantly going like, okay, let's go to YouTube. Let's get the link. Let's whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to create like a resource page where clients can go on the back end after they've signed up and do all of these things. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to create that client experience. Like, I don't want somebody to have to go to YouTube and look at some sort of video. I want it to be my video that I've created that I know have all the exact steps in place. And so understand what it is that client experience is and what you want them to experience when they get there. What's that feeling? And then try to pull it all together. Because if you don't have a high level, like, hey, here's what the plan is, it becomes really hard to create the content or figure out how you want to speak to that person. And then the third key takeaway that I have, and I say this to clients often, is that your website, just like your business, is never fully finished, right? Like, your business is a living, breathing thing. And if you are in an online business, like 99% of my clients, your website's never going to be fully finished. There's always going to be tweaks and changes and adjustments that you want to make, or other pages that you want to add as you add a new service or as you get another testimonial. And so what you have to do is get to this place where you feel comfortable with where it's at, and it's a good representation of who you are as a business owner and the ideal client that you want to serve. And then you have to continue to tweak and hone, because there are things that things that you might love about your site, and then your ideal client goes there and they're like, no, this is horrible. And take it from me, this has actually happened to us probably 2 or 3 websites ago, so probably 7 years. I redid the logo. If you've seen my brand evolution that we have on Facebook, I redid the logo for OMG in 2010 to have these darker colors. And the darker colors, I personally love. That was so much more my style. My ideal client, it did not resonate with at all. So I had also picked imagery to match with those darker colors and everything like that. It was a disaster. Okay, so learn from me that it's never fully finished. And sometimes things that you might love, your ideal client might not love. And so it's so important to understand that, get it to a place where you feel comfortable, where you feel proud of it, and then go back and continue to tweak and hone based on 2 things. 1, data, right? Because we can look at data from a Google Analytics standpoint to say, hey, here's what's going on with X, Y, and Z pages, or like, what's your bounce rate? So if you're getting like a 20% bounce rate, that's amazing. Most websites are like, a great website is like 30 to 50% for a bounce rate. and like excellence like 20%. And so understanding what those metrics are, and then looking at like user behavior and feedback, right? So there's an art and a science to everything in the digital marketing world. And so understanding your numbers to support your conversion. So, and then you can figure out how you want to define conversions, whether that's people who are booking a console or signing up for your email or whatever that is, but understand what that goal is and how you're going to leverage and move people forward in that ecosystem to get them to buy from you. And so that it's never fully finished is something that you have to just kind of like let go of and be okay with. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation with clients that it's like, you can tweak and hone copy a million times. At the end of the day, it's like, you got to put it out there and you have to test and you have to say, is my client actually responding to this? And then if they are, great. And if they aren't, tweak it, right? And tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. And that's the biggest thing that I often hear people like get stuck on, right? Like, I've had clients that I've worked with where they've gotten stuck for months about launching because they're just not satisfied with the copy, or they're just not satisfied with whatever. And it's like, you're not, but your ideal client might be. And ultimately you're not buying from yourself, your ideal client is. And so you have to go get that feedback from your ideal client to find out what's working and what's not working. So those are my big 3 key takeaways from my recent OMG website launch. I would love for you to check out the site and leave me a comment to let me know what you think. We just got we just had a professional brand photo shoot done this week, so we haven't implemented the new pictures on there yet, but we are going to be implementing those very soon. And again, I'm probably going to go take pictures quarterly, and so I want to update that on a regular basis to keep the site fresh. So it's one of those things where it's a tweaking and honing and continue to build and evolve as you build, as you grow and evolve as a business owner, but also as your business grows and evolves, as your team grows and evolves, as your avatar grows and evolves. And so it's so important to remember that. And so that's what I want you guys to enjoy today. I hope you have a super fantastic day, and I really look forward to chatting with you all soon. Have a great day.